All right, welcome everybody. I want to everybody join me and welcome our great friend in modular and techno, Ben Kiriati. He is hailing from Tel Aviv, Israel. Some of you guys might already know him. He's posted on YouTube these how I play videos, and I'll just be the first to say that I watched all his videos when I first got started with the techno thing and modular. And so it's been super inspirational. And I don't know if you can see his rack in the background, but that thing I've watched it grow from two little cases to this massive thing. And he's got another case to the side. So, yeah, everybody, welcome Ben. Thank you so much, BENKI, for coming.
Thank you for the very nice introduction.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
Before
me.
you get started, I'm Trovarsi. Nice to finally meet you face to face. I've been watching your videos as well, and
I've
yeah,
been watching
awesome.
yours.
I'm gonna pin you so you're the highlight. So he's highlighted for everybody.
All right, man. So, how's it going?
All good. Thank you.
Yep. Um, when's the last gig you played?
Oh, you know what? That a few months have passed actually. I think September, but things are. I mean, the weather is becoming a little bit warmer now, and parties are like happening again a little bit more. Um, so yeah, I hope this will be a busy summer again.
Yeah, so could you tell us about your rig? I think you have a live case and then you have like a home studio case. Is that right?
Exactly. I used to have it's. Let me try to show it here. I used to have only the small one. This is my live case, and that one is my studio case that has never stopped to grow. Um, and I usually switch things from this one to this one, but we'll get into that later.
Could you tell everybody about your approach to your live sets and just for anybody that's not familiar?
Definitely. What I use is um, I a lot of the space goes into sequencing. I just need to have good sequencing and a lot of modulation sources. Basically, I have 4 rows. Two of them are um, utilities and sequencers, and other two are dedicated for sound and mixing. Um, and what I usually do, I have a few patterns that are made beforehand. Sometimes I, you know, um, edit them, change them, add more patterns, but I try to limit myself to like 8 patterns for the whole 2 hours or however long is my set. And the rest of that is everything is just improvised. So you load a pattern. I just have to make sure that the kick and the bass play well together, and the rest, I mean, I can do whatever I want. So that's why I have patterns that I know that work, but I really don't know what sounds are gonna be playing, even which melody is gonna be playing. I mean, because those are really generated on the fly. So it's a mix of improvisation and having a few things ready.
I
Can you
guess
walk? Oh,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, can you walk us through your case then? Can you show us first, just so we before you go any deeper, like just either.
Sure. You want me to move my camera over here, or are you guys okay with modular grid and like showing you that? I mean, I can do both.
Let's start with modular grid and then move to the case when you show us some of your patches,
Okay,
if
fine.
that's cool, because it might be
Yeah.
easier for you. Okay,
Um, so I'm gonna share screen right now.
cool. Well, wait, let me. Oh, yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, I can already see that I haven't updated this in a while. But this used to be my setup. It hasn't changed very much over the latest iterations, but this would give you like a good idea of what's going on. Basically, do you see now the modular grid? Okay, cool. What I have here is everything that should be hands-on. I mean, everything that I would like to keep my hands on at all times, which is my sequencer, some noise, another sequencer, and some modulation. And here what I have is basically all my voices that are not drums. So I would use like a DIA into a high pass filter for, it usually makes like a hi-hat sound in metal mode. Then I have the LAP, which does all kinds of low percussion stuff or leads into the UJO filter. And then I use the onboard. Should I zoom this in a little bit more?
Yeah, that helps.
Okay, cool. So the LAP has a dedicated envelope output. It has an onboard envelope. And I used that same envelope to modulate the UJOV. So they kind of play really well together. I also like having filters on every voice because it's easier to fade in and out using the filter instead of reaching for the little knobs on the mixer. So that's why I really like filters. Same thing goes here in the amp and tone. This rack was made or was planned before I had the piston Honda. So this is why I needed two oscillators to have that two detuned sawtooth waves mixed together into filter and VCA. This was the plan for this voice. And finally, I have rings. In the end, I just I used to have here like an Odessa into natural gate, and it would take too much space, so I just replaced it with rings, which is kind of tricky to mix in techno because it's too clean, too punchy, too everything. But I mean, I can live with that. Right now, I will show you the actual system that's playing. It has like a piston Honda going into a 100 grit by Schlappy. It's a really nice sounding filter and it's super dirty, but in a good way. And I use that for like, those two have replaced these four modules. Does that make sense? Hello?
Yes, sounds good.
Cool.
Ben, can you also drop the link in the chat too, just so like
Definitely.
your modular grid link?
Sure.
Thank you.
Let me try that now.
So out of your piston Honda, do you use the A, the B, or the mix out into the 100 grid? And this is for like a lead, is that right?
Exactly. I use the mix output, and I just use it for, I basically have it linked, so I can have the same pitch on both oscillators, but I detune them. So I only have to use 1 volt per octave sequence, which comes from the Erica drum sequencer. So the CV out goes into the oscillator's pitch, and because both oscillators are linked, then I can just go from the mix output. I mean, I can send it only one sequence. Both oscillators will do the same thing, but detuned, and then the two sawtooth waves will come out of the mix output into the filter. Now I'm using that specific filter not because of the filter itself, but because it has gain CV control. So it can also be basically my VCA for that voice. And that's how I pull off a complete voice with two modules and one two modules and quadrax. So three modules.
And quadrax is envelope, obviously, right?
Yeah, that's what it does.
You're enveloping the CV gain on the 100 grid.
Exactly. So it becomes
Okay.
like the VCA of the voice.
I need to try that. I have all those modules.
Do it then.
Sorry, are you using also the same envelope for filter cutoff, I mean, and the gain of your?
No, actually, two different envelopes from Quadrax. They get, of course, the same gate sequence. There's a nice feature in Quadrax that allows you to trigger both envelopes from the same trigger sequence. So that's how I'm doing that. And then one goes to the filter and one goes to the gain, basically the VCA.
And what are your settings? Like, do you have like a shorter envelope for the gain, or I mean, yeah, what do you do?
What I do, well, I keep changing it all the time. I mean, in the middle of performance, you just, I mean, sometimes I reverse the shape. I mean, I use the attack more and less fall, and sometimes, well, most of the time is a fairly basic shape. Sometimes well, I'm also modulating the both decays using using a sequence from the MD that goes to this fader. But yeah, that's how it becomes a little bit complex. And that's also why I have this just really close to my hands here on the bottom row. Because here is where I do most of my performance stuff on this module. Most of it is on this module, really. This is where I modulate all the decays in the system, all the filters in the system. The hi-hat decay is also being modulated from here, and the high pass on the kick. So that's basically all I need to play.
That's really cool.
Which-
I want to hear it.
Yeah. So wait, so then do you tune your pitch it? Like, do you touch the pitch knob like throughout your set then? Or do you
Never.
tune before your set and then rely on the sequence?
Yeah, the advantage of this sequencer is that it actually shows you notes. So as long as you keep actually all the sequences on this sequencer are on the same key for me for my live setup. So changing from one pattern to the other would make sense relatively. I mean, you still have to do it elegantly, but there's not really key changes too much. What I do change is this LIP pitch all the time, because since it acts more like a complex oscillator, then changing the ratios is what helps me change the tones. So I do change the pitch on this one. It doesn't get any pitch information. The only voice that does do actual melodies or leads is that this voice. Let's call it the electro voice. Okay, that's how it's in my head. because it's mostly two sawtooth waves into a filter. So I barely touch the pitch knob, only to, like, I don't know, if I suddenly want something to sound a little bit deeper or a little bit higher. I do it. It's most of the time it just stays there static. And if I want, like, to create a little bit like a lift in mood, I just push it up one octave with this module. Does that make sense? So I keep thinking in voices, okay, and each module that I add in, it serves a purpose for one of the voices. So there's almost no modules that are connected to two of the voices. It's really like little sections, and everything is very limited, which is why I use a lot. I mean, limitations is what I use a lot when playing.
Someone had a question in the chat. You mentioned challenges getting rings to sit properly in the mix. How do you deal with that?
Well,
Good question. Mm-hmm.
yeah, because it really it just pokes out so easily. Everything is usually very distorted and squashed, and rings is very, very clean, so it's very easy to kind of have it too loud, or sometimes too low because it's too short, too punchy. So what I do usually, I just send it to my delays and my reverbs, and that makes it like a little bit, it pushes it back, you know. And usually I use it in a very, very short setting, and I rely on the DSP doing most of the job. So like the rings, the sound from rings itself is like super small, very punchy and thin sound. But when it goes through all the reverbs and stuff, that's what makes the sound. So I use it that way. Or I use it I run it through beads, and beads creates a pad out of it when I freeze it. So yeah, rings is like a secondary source. I barely use it to, to actually run the show.
Can we see your case now, like up close? Like,
Yeah,
or-
definitely.
Okay. Does anybody, while he's switching over, does anybody have any questions you want to unmute and ask?
I'd love to hear you talk about how you use Steves. I've got one and it sounds cool, but it's hard to get dialed in sometimes. So I'd love to hear about how you use it.
Oh, well, it actually has a very, very simple use here in the system. I have two of them actually. It's one of the only modules that I have two of. One is in the live case and one is in the studio case. In this situation, in the live case, it only serves to high pass the kick. It's everything it's doing. Also, since it's a very cool saturator, then sometimes I use that. But yeah, I mean, it's just there for the high pass. Sometimes I try to tame down the click of the kick. When I don't want to like move presets, I just want to like, roll off the high end. That's when I use it, and I just use here some CV, like a super simple CV offset into the FCV to high pass the kick. So I high pass my kick from here, from this slider. Does that make sense? So when I push this slider up, what it does, it's just pushing the high pass on the Steve's MS-22 filter. it's easier to do it this way instead of reaching for the knob. That's all. Do you guys want me to show the actual system?
Yes.
Okay, let's try it.
Thank you.
Would you give me one little? Okay.
One other thing, can you actually, I was gonna say to stop sharing the screen, but does everybody see
I'm
how you
sorry.
can it?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, there you go. Okay, great.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so this is the system. Basically the same that you saw before, but with a few little changes. You can see here the oscillator going into the 100 grid, and that's what it looks like basically. Here's when here's where I mute my sounds. I have more than 8 sounds, but these 8 sounds are basically all my drums and rings and the LAP and this voice. I just mute them from the mute switches. If I had space for one more of these, I would do it totally. I just don't like using the menu, the mute menu here, but so that's how I do it.
Question. Do you put your mute in between the trigger or between the audio?
Yeah. I mute the triggers actually.
Okay.
So all of these trigger outputs go first to these mute modules. So when I mute or unmute my kick, what I'm doing is I'm muting the gate itself. So that way I don't cut my kicks in the middle. I don't cut the tails of the sounds. I just make them stop happening. So all the sounds like end more naturally.
Nice. I figured, but I wanted to ask just so you would explain that to everybody, because that's really, it's definitely makes a difference where you place that
Totally.
mute in the change.
Totally. All these little decisions are, I mean, all these decisions that this system is a collection of little choices, right? That you learn along the way. I mean, 2 years ago, this system wasn't sounding as decent as today. And it's thanks to little changes like this. I also didn't mention the Pico drums, which does, well, mostly it does open and closed 909 sounds, just because I don't have any other solution for that right now. And sometimes it does like shakers and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to change the preset because you can load 2 sounds here. So I change the preset and then it goes to being just like a shaker and some other noisy sound. And that's how I kind of change the mood of the track when I need.
Do you remember the dots? I have that module.
Oh, no, I don't remember anything.
You just kind of wing it and just, because some of them are synth stabs on there. Is that the first one or the second one?
Yeah, it's the first one.
Yeah.
I rely on loading and saving presets, so I don't really have to remember what's going on here. I just have to remember like three presets. That's it.
I think that's the second one that the first one I can't save presets, so I have to remember what dot, like the minute I power it off, it's back to.
Really? This is like the sample based one, not the synth based one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Mine is, for whatever reason, when I power it down, it's right back to its original state. So I just made a note, like I just remember where the dots are. Like,
Oh no, that would be
so I wonder
hell.
if there's something wrong with mine. Interesting.
Well, you should. I mean, at
Huh.
least in mine, you can load and save presets. So you just mine also resets, I think. But it's pretty easy to load the preset.
Huh.
So no
All right. I'll
problem.
bug you about it later just to see, because maybe I just didn't. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm doing weird about it. But ever since I got it, it's always been like that, and I just thought it was normal.
Yeah, I didn't know it had presets only after I bought it, and I was like, oh wow, perfect. So this is even better than I thought. Yeah, any more questions? Does somebody want to know anything else about anything?
Yeah. Which is your baseline module, let's say?
Oh, my baseline module. That's gonna be this one, the SYO5. It's like a Eurorack version of the Percussion drum machine. It's one of its voices. I mean, the Percussion is like two of the same, if I remember correctly. So this is one of them. What I use mostly is well, I use it just almost don't touch it. On most of my videos, it's just it's not being modulated. It's not being anything. I just choose like a bass sound, a nice bass sound. I just dial it in, and then I run. You know, it mostly does like really low end subby things. Sometimes if I go low enough with this one, which I do quite often actually, then this one becomes the bass that plays with the kick. But my latest strategy, ever since I got this one, even before, but this one has two LFOs, the kick module, yeah. It has two LFOs, so if I turn the decay long enough, as you see here, then it just rings off until the next kick. So that tail is what I use as a sub bass, and if you modulate that pitch of the tail with an LFO, that's where you get the groove from. So yeah, I do that a lot, and then this one I push it up just a little bit up, so it doesn't clash with the sub bass on this one. Make sense?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I used to have the Erica kick before this one. I had a trick that well, you don't have an LFO in the Erica kick, but I would use the Pamela output to output like a 16-note LFO, a sine wave LFO, and I would use that into the pitch of the Erica kick, and it would do basically the same.
Okay. So for the Percussion module, you don't modulate the pitch basically. You just trigger it.
Yeah, because it's actually it has like an internal pitch envelope in itself with a decay. Kind of hard to see. You know what? Okay, perfect. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, I just trigger and output. It has a decay envelope with a dedicated pitch knob, and well, that's enough for me. Any questions?
So use the F setting on the SYO5.
Oh, actually, I just came from jam with a friend, so I moved things around quite a bit. But no, F is the actually I make all kinds of hi-hats with it when I want. But I usually change between B and E for some reason. E is like quite dirty.
You had mentioned a possible alternative or replacement for the Pico drums. What are you thinking for that? Because I mean, I think as a hi-hat, I think it's pretty excellent for being in 3HP because it's got like a built-in choke and all that stuff. But what would you replace it with?
Nothing. That would be my answer because really I did some research on the hi-hat modules specifically because that's what I was missing the most. I do have the cymbals module here, but it doesn't do hi-hats really. I tried the Patching Panda hats, but it didn't really match with my style. Really cool module, very well made, but it just wasn't the sound I was looking for because I was looking for something more classic. So then I began looking for samplers. And of course, there was the option to buy another one of these ones, the tip top ones, which is really cool sampler, very high quality, the playback and the pitch shift. But it only does one sound. So this one does two with the choke, and you can modulate, not exactly modulate, but you can have control of each of the sounds individually. You can control the sample, then you can control the pitch, the decay, and the volume between, for each of the samples. So yeah, this was my choice. I didn't find anything that was better for my current setup. I mean, I could have done, I don't know, I could
What
have
about
just...
the Erica synth hi-hat?
Oh, you know what? I tried it. It's really cool, but it only does the Erica synth hi-hat, you know?
Right.
And so this one is really a good balance between variation and functionality and space also. It sounds really good. The hi-hats D that I tried.
Yeah.
Did you get to try the tip top 909 hat? Any opinions on that?
Actually, I did. My friend has one. Really likes it. There's the amplitude modulation option in there, so for sound design can be also nice. If I remember correctly, then it has like that AM option. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. For some reason, I just saw this one and I was like, okay, this should be it. But yeah, there are plenty of alternatives really. But I'm really liking this one.
What else are you modulating the PAMs with?
The Pamela?
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually only it's my master clock, so I'm not modulating it, but it's driving my sequencer basically, and sending reset information to here, and here. Yeah, that's all it's doing. Yeah, fairly basic. I mean, I like to use every module for something very, very basic. So that way I don't have to think too much. I can just act, and I know that, I don't know, that this will always modulate only one of the voices. This is actually a filter that has some noise coming into it. So I just turn noise up and down for little transitions and stuff. So yeah, so every module is basically dedicated for something very, very simple. and the Pamela is like the same case goes here.
Are you up for a jam?
Oh,
No
maybe.
pressure.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I do have some patterns here, so I can load some and try to see what happens. I'm gonna have one hand occupied, or if you let me put the phone back where it belongs, or try to find a different angle or something. But basically, just tell me if you hear this.
We hear it.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, I can do like a minute, and try to like show you what's going on here. This is my drums. Okay, was that okay?
Very cool.
Yeah, quite a little bit tricky to, move
Do one-handed.
around
Yeah.
it. Yeah. But well, I did my best.
Very cool.
Yeah, so as you can see, everything should be, at least for me, I mean, the way I think, I need everything to be as simple as possible and as immediate as possible. So that's why I have like everything here. Everything that I need basically is right here. I barely reach like for things that are too specific, like the kick of the decay of the kick or the filter. The only thing that I do up here is mostly ride decay. volume of the ride and the tune of the ride and the sample. So I just moved the ride here.
Did you say ride and the toms? Is that what you said?
The ride, I mean the ride symbol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all I do up here. Everything on this side is the DSP. I don't touch that. It's always the same algorithm, always the same setting on the. This is actually the well, it's the Dismodus Versio, but it's running the Imitor Versio firmware.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my two delays. Beats does like the pad sound. I did a monsoon video explaining like what I use it for, and I ended up replacing it with beats, but it does exactly the same. It's just a high pitched pad sound out of any of the voices. All I have to do is just send it using the send knobs there, and then they get here, and then I freeze it. That's all.
Do you have any side chaining action going on in there anywhere?
Not at all.
Compressors.
Nothing. Well, the only compressor that I have here is the one on the mixer itself, but it's very dirty and extreme. So yeah, pushing it past 9 o'clock would just destroy everything for me. It also, of course, depends on the balance between the sounds, but it's the only one that I actually use. As you can see, I have the kick pretty high. So that way, what it does, it pushes the compressor down, so that helps everything groove together. Make sense?
Do you EQ on the X Mix?
I mostly high pass. I mean, you can't really high pass here. I just have some of the shelves treating the lows. That's what I do mostly. I don't use the panning because to make things wider, I just use the DSP.
So in the club or in any of the clubs you playing, I mean, are you focused on just playing in mono and then maybe just having a little stereo reverb? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do. I don't really pan things around. What I do focus on is having everything in its right place frequency wise, instead of panning wise. So if like instead of EQing something, I just move it out of the way. If two things are clashing with each other, instead of EQing or using an EQ, I just move one of the voices like 2 octaves up, and that solves the problem. That's how I. That's why I don't need an EQ. Basically, I do need these low frequency shelves, though. And after that, yeah, I just go stereo out. Nothing too fancy. And when I need something to be a little bit wider, then yeah, just these 3 modules do the job. To treat the balance, I don't only use the volume. I also use the DSP. I mean, if I want to bring something up or closer to the listener, then I just don't send it to the delay. So that way I change what's in front of me and what is like far away. And yeah, those are changes that I do a lot because I want to feature each of the voices individually in turns. So I use this lead sound, I bring it to the front a little bit more, and then bring these ones to the back, using DSP, of course. And then I switch between them. I close the filter here, send it to the reverb, bring back the rings if I needed, or bring this one up. And as I bring it up, I also make it a little bit drier. I tend to forget that though, and that makes the whole mix fall apart. But yeah, it's something that is worth taking. It's worth considering. Does it make sense?
Yep. What about Contour 1? What is Contour 1 doing?
Oh, just glide. Have you ever used glide on rings?
Wait,
No.
did you say what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm using it to as a glide.
A glide. Glide.
yeah.
Okay.
Let me show you what it sounds like.
Cool.
Let me make it dry. So the sequence itself comes from here. You know what this is? Yeah. So the steady sequence, also the gates is going to rings, and then the CV goes to contour 1. And then to the module. So sometimes I can do. Yeah, that's basically it.
Nice. So you can just change up the sound on the fly.
Yeah, because it just makes it behave a little bit like more loose or tighter. So that's how I use it. That's why it's there. So it has a very simple job, but it makes sense to have it here.
Did you try it? Oh, sorry.
Oh. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, did you try any other filter with your new Piston Honda?
Actually, the only one that I tried with it, not because I don't like the other ones, but just because I only had the opportunity to connect it to the neutron flux. Do you know which one is that? It's actually the other system. Well, this would be a good time to show you the other system. This one.
Yeah, it's from a Sweden company, I think. Or something.
Yeah. I really like that one. It has so much variation, and well, when playing with Piston Honda that has tons of sounds in it, then you almost always find something that's very useful. Here in this specific situation, I try to limit myself to something that is very easy to how do you say it? Very easy to describe. Just like the electro lead, two very simple sawtooth waves detuned into a dirty filter with a VCA. That's it.
Yeah,
that's
classic.
Yeah, so that's why this filter is here, not because the other ones are less good. Yeah.
Have you tried Piston Honda through Natural Gate?
No, not yet. Did I?
I tried.
I actually should have the. I was thinking about getting the. That little 4 HP that has like. I think it's called chainsaw. Yeah, chainsaw. From Acid Rain Technology. That's what I was thinking of getting, for this exact same sound because it has like, I think like 7 subtle waves, even more. I don't remember.
21, because you can have 3 different voices if you send all 3.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it's
I was thinking of replacing that one with the piston Honda and then moving the piston Honda to the studio system, which would make more sense because here is like it's being completely wasted, you know, it's wasted talent right here. So yeah, so that I like to use fairly basic modules for fairly basic actions, and this one is too fancy for here. This is what I feel, at least.
Let me ask you. So I noticed that you pulled the Odessa out of your performance case.
Yeah.
Did you do it just because you want to change it up, or what was your, or why did you pull it out?
I needed more space
Mm.
because Odessa is pretty big, and then it needed a natural gate with it, so that would take like too much space here. And I also wanted the 2 subtle waves that those also would take too much space. So yeah, I kept changing stuff, and now it's like more efficient space wise, HP wise. So yeah, everything keeps changing. I mean, I might, I don't know, I might change a few things on my drums next month. I don't know. I usually try stuff on the studio system, and if it works out and it's small enough and simple enough to use, then it moves back here. Make sense?
Totally. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I have a question then. All right, so when you talk about your performance case and your philosophy behind keeping things relatively simple so you can maneuver and perform with that specific case, so what are your patching techniques with your larger case? Is it more focused on production, and then if so, like, yeah, talk about a little bit about your other case, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Well, this is a relatively new system. It's a new case. Actually, a friend built it for me. After I showed him a photo of, do you know Eric Needham, the guy who makes
Yeah.
the really, really fancy cases?
Hmm.
So he really liked the idea of start building cases, and this one was like his first try at it. It's not perfect, a little bit rough on the edges, but I mean, I like it.
Which one are you talking about? He built your. Is that an elite
Yeah.
modular case or your
No, the
studio
elite
case?
modular case is like the elite mod.
Elite. Oh, okay. Because we're looking at right now your production, your
Yeah,
performance.
exactly. I was talking about the production system.
That one. Okay.
Yeah, this one is what my friend built for me. Um, so yeah, it's made for the studio more than for performance. Even though I really like having the same, I keep like kind of the same layout philosophy, if you want to call it like that, as with the performance case. What I mean is I have all the utilities and sequencers in the first row, and in the first 2 rows actually. Uh, I really have to move this one up. This is the verbose delay. But yeah, it's mostly control what you have here, and then moving up, you have everything you would use usually to actually make the sounds. So going up, you would have a row of oscillators, then a row of filters and distortions. That's all you need, really. What I'm really missing at this point is an envelope module. I really want like another quadrax or like more. Now I saw the quad function generator that TipTop made. That one would also be really nice here because I only have like one. I have two function generators in this whole case, and usually that is not enough.
Yeah, the new
So-
tip top function generator is nice.
So
Yeah.
one issue with that, the tip top function generator is you have one, right, Trovarsi?
Yep.
Have you noticed like the switches are kind of like finicky?
I
Oh no! Please don't
No.
tell me.
No?
mm-mm.
Okay.
What do you mean? Like they won't? Are yours not latching or something?
I just noticed like 3 were fine, and then one was it was like you would flip it down, and you would barely touch it, and it would flip back. So it's like, I mean, it's $200, so like I'm thinking, you know, they had to cut corners somewhere. They probably used some like low quality switches and stuff.
Huh? Maybe it's your module. I would reach out because they're pretty locked. Like when I click them, I can hear and feel them locking into.
I just got lucky.
I'm not seeing that on modular grid. What's that tip top function generator called?
It's their that Buchla series that they're doing with Buchla. So what is it? The 258T or something like that? Let me see.
Oh, I see it.
You see
281.
it? Okay.
I'm so sorry. I just realized my camera is lagging like 1 minute behind.
Oh,
That's been fine.
yeah.
Really? Well, I see it like. Anyways, yeah. Do you guys want to know anything more about the new system? Maybe.
Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I forgot to say, there's a video coming up next Thursday, in which it's a performance video of like an hour and 10 minutes, in which I use this system in its current form and 2 more voices that I did here, just to keep things less boring, and just because, you know, it's nice to have. And the 2 voices were just a very simple voice that was based on the multi-delay, just to create little pads, and a very simple, well, simple but really effective Odessa into Optomix, triggered by the A155. 155. Really like this sequencer, super powerful. It looks like very old and very basic, but using it, I mean, I don't think I will ever replace this with anything. Yeah, so you will get to see that one next week when it airs. The reason I haven't put it up, it's because it was a recording for some podcast. So I'm waiting for the podcast episode to air, and then I will be able to upload it to YouTube.
Can you talk a little bit more about mixing? What do you submix and how are things routed around?
Yeah, definitely. Well, basically what I have here, since I haven't got enough mixers yet, I haven't got any mixers actually, only like one. I mean, I really don't have anything here. It only looks big. How I'm mixing? Actually, when I need mixing, I mix everything in Xpan. I know it's like not the best option, but that's how I do it. Or going into Veils, that's how I mix a lot also. And when going into Ableton, when I want to record something, I just connect it to this module by ADAC, the red one, that it just converts like from Eurorack cables to actual TRS cables. And
Which
and
module is that? I didn't.
this one, it's called Size Matter, the ADAC Size Matter.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I'm finished with a voice and I want to record it, I just take it there. Or yeah, that's basically my output module. Here's in this section I have everything that is related to inputs and outputs at this point. This is for my input. Sometimes I bring like a beat or any sample from Ableton to here. And then the system does its own thing to the sample, and then I bring it back.
I think we're waiting for the video to catch up.
No.
Just a question.
Okay, yeah, please.
So, do you have the bulk filter and also the Sputnik one, right?
Yes.
Which one do you prefer?
I haven't been able to decide really. Once again, can I do you guys want me to close the camera and open it again to see if it solves the lag problem, because it's getting pretty annoying?
Yeah, try that.
Yeah, please. You guys are too polite with me. You should have told me that. Okay, let me kind of.
No worries. Thank you for taking the time out and doing this, walking us through. It's always, good to see how other people are approaching performance as well as patching and just writing music. This is super helpful.
Yeah, I mean. Sorry. I mean, you're welcome. This is something that I do out of my heart, Also, I have many people coming over, and I'm always like, everyone's invited to, play with the system, do jams, and yeah, definitely.
Nice. So when you're when you are working on your bigger system then, and when you're going into Ableton, do you find then that you're do you make a patch and multi-track out like a song, or do you find that you're more just sampling individual audio pieces and then working in the box from there? Like, what is your...
Oh, man, it keeps changing. Sometimes the whole track is based out of like a really nice loop that I recorded like a month ago. So everything starts in the box, and then I just look for specific sounds in the system. And in a situation like that, I would only record one sound into Ableton. Sometimes, like when improvising or whatever, I run into like a really cool sequence that I wasn't expecting. And that's when it gets a little bit more technical to split everything and record. I do have the possibility to use my direct outs of the Bifaco mixer into the interface. That's also nice. But I like the DSP too much to run, without it.
Right, because it's direct. It's a pre-fader recording,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, it just doesn't take the effects in.
Right.
It takes only the channel. So yeah, that's why I in the beginning I really went for this mixer, because I felt it would help me in the studio. I got a bigger interface. I got the the mixers and everything. And then I found out like, okay, this I don't find myself going in that direction technically. I found myself just recording the master output, and it's super easy for me to run in Ableton from like record the same inputs, and just like I mute one channel here, open the next one, and record in the next clip. I use the session view a lot, So I record different different channels in different clips, and then I run the arrangement. That's what happens sometimes. Also, sometimes I use like I record one long performance, like long, like 10 minutes, um, of like some drone or something. I open and close the filters, open and close the decays in the envelope, stuff like that. I imagine it like nothing's playing in the background. It's only that one lead sound or that one drone, and I kind of imagine it in the context of a track. So I do the performance without anything playing really, just that sound, no drums, no anything, and then I add those later based on the performance itself. So I don't edit the performance. I don't cut it to make it exactly 16 bars or whatever. But I do the automations on the drums according to the performance of the drone sound or the lead sound.
Fun. That's an interesting approach. I mean, because that could completely change up the way you arrange a track. You know, like it breaks you out of the mold of, okay, in 4 bars, I need a breakdown and I need to do a build up, and like, yeah, so that's pretty cool. That's a
Yeah.
that's a creative approach.
Yeah, I found it's more natural to me to do it that way because I mean, when you're on this system, you're standing up. I'm standing up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of you're dancing with it, you know. Even if it's just a drone, you feel it better. So your
Right.
whole movement is like more human. And to keep that human factor, I base the whole production around that human recording, or else it wouldn't be as human.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The most important thing is to not have like one single strategy, because in almost every point of my my music making, I won't call it a career, but my music making hobby. Um, Anytime that I try to, I don't know, like focus on one thing or work in a very certain way, it just didn't work. Like you have to have the flexibility of telling yourself, okay, I'll do it this way or I'll do it that way. You know, don't try to force yourself to do one thing. And also feel free to just throw things to the trash if they don't work. Because yeah, I mean, there's this emotional attachment to your work, and you end up just having piles and piles of unfinished tracks that will never work. I mean, the more you work on them, the worse they get. So if you didn't finish it like in two sessions, just move on.
Right.
That's that's the actual only thing that I keep to myself. That I keep the only rule actually is like to delete things after 2 sessions.
That's good advice, you know, and I think that the more people make music, the more you're willing to not only share it, but let it go. You know, when I first started producing, it would take me forever to finish something. And then like it would take me forever, I felt like, to share it with somebody, you know, and like, and you know, as years went by, I just learned like the more music I made, the easier it became to decide, okay, this is crap. You know, like throw this away, and sharing became easier. And all of it kind of went together, you know. And then adding Eurorack now into the factor, you know, it's become even easier to just like patch something. It works, cool, and if it doesn't, you toss it. Like think of how many times all of you that are here right now have patched just to patch and don't even record it. You just rip out the cables and move on. But there's
Yeah.
something, you know, like nice about that.
Yeah, because music should be about you have to find emotion in it, and if it's not there, it's not worth keeping. And sometimes it's okay, like, okay, the patch is not there, this is not your day, just turn it off. Don't force yourself to record something that will never work anyways.
Right.
I try to actually record only when I hit something that, like, fuck, this has to happen right now.
Right.
um, and I mean, most of the time I don't find it. Yeah, it's not magic. What's happened? What happens there? But when you run into something, that's when I record, and I don't care where it comes from. It can come from the computer. It can come from anywhere. But when you find it, you have to record in some way. I mean, that's why I don't even have like a fixed recording setup. I mean, all the direct outputs are disconnected, because I don't know if I will use them or not. I don't know what I will need until I find it. So only when I find that sound, that's when I think, okay, how should I record this? Yeah, so that's why I don't have like one answer on what's my recording setup like, or.
Right. No, that's cool though. Does anybody have any questions?
I really appreciate those comments for what it's worth. I put a lot of work into making it easy to record, but very much I like the advice, to be ruthless and feel free to delete things or just discard them, tear down patches. For some reason, that's helpful to me to not create some absurd pressure on myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. I mean, for many years, that's why I still do it. Yeah, I mean, I try to train myself not to go down one path in that
Yes.
regard.
Yeah, I'm realizing actually with my current patch that I had slipped into that and treating the thing as precious. And since I haven't gotten what I want, I should just rip it down and start over. Because yeah, otherwise I actually wind up making less music because, oh, I can't touch it because it's in this precious state.
Yeah. Also, my first, I've been into modular, I think, like for, I don't know, 4 years. Yeah, something like that. Maybe a little bit more. I don't know. Some of my least productive years were like my years when I was getting into modular. But because you're a one, like, you end up all day, you spend your days like in research. And research is also like part of the fun, and it's super interesting, and like you get to know different ways of thinking. Like every brand has like their own philosophy and their own sound, and you find yourself. I mean, you find what you like inside of this big world. But I always say, when you're doing one thing, you're not doing another thing. So yeah, so I try to balance things out. Paying less attention to how I'm doing things, just because I'm trying to find that one musical thing, not the whole creation. I start most of my tracks from one thing. I don't know if it will be a drum sound or a pad or anything. And if I didn't find it, everything, I mean, I put all the cables back in their place, start again like the next day.
So on the topic of research, most disappointing module, favorite module, and what's next? What's the new module?
Oh, I was hoping it won't come. Well, most disappointing module. Wow, I never thought about it. It also wouldn't be fair because sometimes it has to do with my specific unit and not how the module is planned. But if something really frustrates me is when things don't work properly. Not that they don't work properly, they don't work because they weren't made with enough attention. You know, LEDs that keep blinking even when they don't need to blink, you know. When you're playing live, everything is dark. You can't even hear yourself. So that one LED light that blinks is your only visual feedback of what's going on in that channel. And if that little light is not doing its job properly, then you know, it gives you more things to think about during a performance. So yeah, stuff like that. It happens in many modules actually. Let's go with my favorite modules.
All right.
But really, I wasn't aware of the manufacturing process and different techniques or that people use to make their modules. And in only recently, I began buying stuff that I really am sure that I will still have this working even in 3 years. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that's worth looking into, but I buy only like I have to feel it, and if it feels good, then I'm like, okay, you know. Okay, favorite module. Wow, it's really hard to try to make it easier for me. Favorite filter, favorite oscillator.
Yeah, run through it. What's your favorite oscillator for right now? I always throw in the disclaimer right now.
Odessa.
Odessa. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I wouldn't like it before when I first got it. I didn't really know how to use it, but now I know that I really don't know how to use it, and I don't want to know how to use it. I just throw a bunch of like random sequences into it, and as long as it goes into a low pass gate, I'm super happy. Like 90% of the time, I'm blown away. Yeah, so that's why most of my tracks right now have the Odessa into Optomix combo in them.
Do you have the expander for it?
No, not yet.
Okay. I was just curious. I feel the same way about the Odessa, honestly. Yeah. I stopped trying to completely figure it out.
Yeah, you don't need to. I mean,
Yeah,
just use one until it sounds great, and it usually sounds great. So, favorite module? Wow, that's that
Tom,
would
what
have.
do you think? Filter? Should he answer the filter?
I mean, okay, favorite, like it's every category. I don't know.
Yeah, favorite filter.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Really liking the neutron flux filter. It's got something in it for any kind of genre or sound or purpose, and you don't hear that immediately, but when you unpatch it and patch into another filter, you immediately hear the difference, and then you go back to that one again. So that's for me a really cool filter. It's also stereo in and stereo out, and not many filters have real stereo in, stereo out.
True.
Can you
What's
talk
the
a little
next
bit
two?
about
Sorry.
playing with other people and how what's kind of prep do you need to do, and how are you able to be responsive versus just using what you came in with?
It changes, of course, between setups and locations, and it depends if I'm here in the studio and somebody comes over, or if I'm only taking the small system with me somewhere else. Last week, I went to a friend's studio just to record some new sounds for his recordings, and we did like a jam. He has like his own synths using MIDI mostly, syncing them to Ableton. so we use the CV tools in Ableton that allow you to actually sync with CV, going out of a DC coupled interface. So I would run that CV into Pamela, the run signal and the clock signal, and that's how I mean, syncing is the most important thing if you're playing with somebody else. So when I have Pamela in the system, it can be a slave or it can be synced with CV from a different system. Also, I have the UMIDI, the micro MIDI, you call it, from IntelliGel. It's a 6 HP module. Really cool, works perfect for me. You feed it MIDI over USB or MIDI cable, and it gives you the 16th notes that you need. Also run, reset, everything you need from the DAW basically. When you use it with USB, the system recognizes it as a USB device. Super easy from any DAW. You just select it and off you go. So yeah, I almost never run into like syncing problems, stuff like that. And then the other issue is like you have to decide like what is your role in the jam. That's the next thing, and that also depends on the system and what you're bringing with you to the jam.
Is that something you usually work out with the other person beforehand or as you're sitting down?
As I'm sitting down, I mean, actually this system over time has become less and less jammable or jam friendly, because it's been more and more performance based for techno basically. So when we do ambient jams, it takes a while to loosen up the envelopes and open the filters and make everything like a little bit longer. Find maybe a different algorithm for the DSP, stuff like that. And the jam happens in the end. I mean, the Piston Honda can also do really clean, very nice stuff. So yeah, I mean, I can create really like a wide variety of sounds, but it's mostly like made for techno or for on the floor music. So usually when I jam out, like that's what we do.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? How's everybody doing this Saturday evening and morning for some of you?
Not bad as the coffee hits my system.
Dennis, you've been quiet today. Are you taking notes? I know you love techno. Oh, we can't hear you. Wait, I see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm
There you
between two devices. I'm between the iPad and the iPhone, so I didn't know where to put the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Indeed, I really love techno music. That's why I wrote Mayday, 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 Berlin, but it's actually Dortmund. So, because I remember the first time I went to Mayday, actually. It's. I was just wondering what you were doing with the Mimetic Digitalis in your live, please, for what you were using it.
Yeah, it has for CV sequences. I pair it with the Lapsus Os. So
yeah, okay, like
yeah. So I mentioned using Lapsus Os for modulating the decay and the filters in all the system, like collectively, all of them at the same time. So since Lapsus Os can be also like a very simple offset module, or it can attenuate sequences. In this case, I'm using it to attenuate sequences that come from the MD. So MD into they get attenuated, and like the MD is always running, but I just close it with the LO. Yeah, does that make sense?
And I see that you have a lot of how's the brand called again? From it's in engineering. The brand from noise engineering.
Yep.
Yeah, I see. You see, you have a lot of other modules from noise engineering, like several voices. I see. Do you like them, or?
Yeah, I really do. In the beginning, they sounded just different from anything else that I tried or even heard. I became really curious about it, and found out that they really know how to make something playable. I mean, to this day, I keep finding new sounds from the BIA, for example, and it only has like 7 knobs, you know. So it's really endless. They really know how to do their stuff. Also, one of my favorite distortions is the Ruina, which is it's software based, but I don't know. I never heard something like it. So yeah, I really like their way of thinking about stuff, and that's what made me buy more modules.
Yeah, noise engineering is a good brand. I'm asking because a lot of techno DJs are using because noise engineering has a quite variety of modules to make sounds, voices, oscillators, and they go actually from dark and a lot of bass to very melodic. And I know a lot of people use them in techno music.
Yeah, because
they're quite often used. Yeah.
The way I use mine, I mean, I have the LIP. That's the one I use the most for to find new sounds in techno. Just because it's its own voice, and it's like a complex oscillator with 2 oscillators, and yeah, I mean, I use it a lot because it doesn't tell you how to use it. You know, it only invites you to just touch it, you know, and turn the knob until something happens. And this is something that I use a lot. I mean, this it's not a technique. It's just like I don't know, man, touching things until you hear something, and that module is really fun to play with in that way because it when it sounds good, it's really good, and when it sounds bad, it lets you find out what you should move to make it sound better. So the whole feedback and yeah.
When you're live, sorry.
Go ahead.
When you're live, do you use Q at all? Or do you just turn the knob?
No, a lot of times, especially with the rings. Because with rings, the sequence is a random sequence that I lock, like with a Turing machine style sequencer. So I kind of scroll through different sequences, hearing in the headphones.
Yep.
And once I'm happy with what I'm hearing, then I start bringing it in.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's the only one I really cue in my headphones, because the other ones are either how do you call it, predictable enough because I sequence them, so I don't really have to listen to them beforehand.
Right. So you know, like the rings is you're not 100% sure it's going to play in melodically well, like in key with the other patterns. Because
it actually never plays in key. It never plays in key, but because I don't try to make things sound in key, I just move things to different frequency ranges, and that's how my performance evolves. I bring in a voice that's playing higher, Um, if it's playing higher, then I have like a hole in the middle of the mix with nothing there, right? So I just send it to beads and pull the pitch in beads lower, and then I have like a bed for that high pitched sound to sit on top. So I have like solutions for everything, and in the whole performance is like a cycle of the different voices one after the other. So that creates all sonic contrast and melodic contrast. I mean, some of the sequences are very melodic and very easy to listen to, and some of them are more challenging. Some of them are longer, some of them are shorter. And when you keep going like in this cycle fashion, that I don't know that's what is working for me right now.
Yeah, but nobody told techno DJs in the 80s and the 90s to play in key. We didn't play in key with vinyl. It's only after 2000 Tractor Serato came along and you find the key on Beatport and the other sites, and you had key analyzing software. It's only then they told us to play in key. We play on feeling.
Exactly. I mean, it works or it doesn't work. I mean, and if it works, then I don't ask myself why. It just works. And if it doesn't, then I just scroll through another sequence. I also have that's also how I build the melodies, even for the very predictable electro sequences. I don't I don't um, I don't sequence them myself. I use the random generation um, inside of the Erica sequencer, and I just hit the button until I find something nice. Usually, I just edit a little bit the notes. Maybe one of the notes is like four octaves higher. I just bring that one down, and it's done. It's there, and I save it and I move on. So yeah, but in that, so I find them. I just bounce into them by mistake. Yeah.
Like happy
And
accidents.
exactly, and I just say
Yeah.
okay, and that's enough for me. I mean,
We call that horse tracking. When it's not in sync, it's off the beat, or it's melodically not correct. We call that a horse tracking, and that was actually a technique Jeff Mills was using a lot. Actually, when he was mixing, to push the vinyl a bit back, that the beats was going and to push them back in. It was something he was doing all the time, and he called that horse track mixing. So,
yeah, because there's a lot of music in between the beats, so you really have to sit on top of each other. Yeah, some sequencers even give you the ability to move the whole track, like micro in milliseconds.
Like shift it left or right.
That works also. Yeah, you find all these different shuffles. For my own performances and tracks, I use only like the basic shuffle in the Erica sequencer, which sounds perfect for me. That's what the thing I was missing the most in the Maleko sequencer that I used for quite a while until I found the Erica.
that's the Eric.
Sorry, go ahead, Dennis.
No, but the one you're using is the Erica Black sequencer, which the keyboard style edition.
The drum sequencer.
I'm using the drum sequencer.
That's a drum sequencer, yeah. And what is it? Is it just the drum sequencer? Is it just gates out for just drumming?
It has 16 gate outputs. 12 out of these 16 channels have accents also, and it also has two electrodes and CVN gate channel for melodies or bass lines.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has everything I need almost.
Go ahead, MKB.
I was going to ask how immediate the Erica sequencer is. It looks like it might be so deeply modal.
Yeah, because well, it has many buttons that you have to press and learn their positions, and everything looks the same. I mean, when you have there's like 16 buttons there, one on top of the other. It's kind of hard to reach for one that specific option that you need with your eyes closed, for example. And that's why I still use the mute modules, the dedicated mute modules. So yeah, it can do a lot of things. Once you learn it, it becomes pretty natural, just like learning everything. But you do have to learn it. Some of the button combinations, you have to learn them. They're not written on the panel. You just have to remember them. But once you get you get used to that, then you're okay. It's easy to forget. Some of the features are quite important, but they're easy to forget because you don't remember if you need to press this button or this button, and you have to keep going back to the manual a little bit. But for what I do, I mean, yeah, I take my time finding the patterns or writing the patterns. And once I store it, then I use the most basic mode in the sequencer.
And you could save presets on that sequencer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I do basically. I spend most of the time when I'm using that sequencer. Most of the time, I'm just trying to find out new ideas. But when I'm actually performing, I never I stay most of the time on the same page. So yeah, that's why it's easy to forget, because the way I use it, I tend to not use it basically.
Yeah, I had that. That was my first big, my first real sequencer. It was the Erica's drum sequencer, and I had it for a while. And then when the Metron came out, that's what I switched to the Metron at the time for gates, just because I needed that visual representation, But I did enjoy the Erica synths, like the fact that the 16 buttons are stacked where you can put your kick on the first four, so I did enjoy using it. But then with the Metron, having it laid out a little bit more visually, like seeing all 16 steps, because that was the one thing with the Erica's, the drum sequencer, was remembering to page over to see the other parts of the sequence. But yeah, it was still a fun sequencer though.
Well, the Metron, I really like how it's laid out. The only problem for me, well, it's not really a problem. It's a matter of choice. I used to have the machine controller back like 10, 12 years ago. And when it came out, that was even before I knew that hip hop was made on an MPC, for example. I just I was completely clueless. So I found out about this machine controller, and that's when I started digging backwards in time. So yeah, then I became very familiar with the layout. It's super easy to understand what's going on. And that 4x4 grid felt very natural for me. And when I saw the Erica drum machine and the drum sequencer, I was like, okay, this is what I need, like 4x4 with accents and shuffle. That's what I need.
Right.
And when I saw Metron, yeah, having the 16 steps is really cool, but having access to only 4 sounds at a time and having to switch pages wasn't too much for me.
Right.
So that's why I chose in the end going with the Erica.
See, it's all about like I always tell people, I'll always ask, what should they buy or whatever, and it's always like you have to think about. I tell people just think about how you think, like how your brain is, because like for example, Mular, you love the deluge, and I cannot I just cannot get into it. Like I've tried, like for whatever, like that's just the way my head works. So it's like the best advice I think is like just go with what works for you, like personally, and like how your brain works. Like me, I need to see that visual representation, but for you, you're saying like it works with the whole MPC and machine. That makes total sense. You saying that, like I get it. Like I see how that works for you.
Yeah,
So,
that's what worked for me. So,
but cool. Does anybody have an? Oh, sorry.
I saw a video earlier about the Roland MC04. It's an 80s sequencer. Everyone should see that and marvel at what we have today. Like this is this is really bad in comparison.
yeah, some of the Roland, not all of the Roland products are easy to wrap your head around.
I mean, this was the 80s, right? So yeah, it was basically a calculator where you had to put in numbers for each step, like length of the step, number of the note, number of the mod CV, and so on. And then you go to the next step and do the same thing again.
Right. By that point, you forgot what type of groove you were trying to create.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
That's funny. Does anybody else have any questions? Tom, how are you doing over there?
Good. Just listening.
Cool. Again, I just want to say, Ben, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your techniques and workflow with us.
Was my pleasure.
Yeah, if there isn't any more questions, I'm going to stop the recording. But yeah, thank you for being here. Don't disconnect just yet.
Cool. Thank you for having me. And just let me say one more thing. If you
yes.
ever get like, if you ever have a question or you see something and you want to reach out, please feel free just to ask any question. I'm pretty open and approachable and friendly.
Thank you, Ben. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'll drop if you want to drop your Instagram link or in the chat. I also dropped your YouTube link as well. So everybody, to your YouTube channel, I put that in the chat.
Yeah, perfect. Should I do that now?
Yeah, go ahead. Or actually, I can do it for you actually right now. All right, cool.